Emily Harper sat motionless at her sleek, minimalistic desk in the spacious corner office of her biotechnology firm, overlooking the River Thames in London's vibrant business district. Her fingers shook slightly, the neatly typed divorce papers sprawled before her echoing in her mind. She reread Marcus's statement again, each word like an icy blade. Emily has consistently demonstrated financial incompetence and has failed to contribute meaningfully to the marriage. Financial incompetence? How could he say that? At 32, she had single-handedly built one of London's most promising biotech startups, quietly developing groundbreaking genetic research and healthcare technologies that had attracted serious acquisition offers from major industry players. But Marcus Bennett, her ambitious husband of 5 years, saw none of this. To Marcus, success meant fast profits and lavish displays of wealth, manifested in flashy real estate projects, exclusive parties, and extravagant purchases. Her careful and ethical approach to innovation had always baffled him, and now it appeared he'd found justification to cast her aside, labeling her useless in matters of finance. The sting of betrayal was profound, but Emily kept her composure, a calm facade masking the turmoil within. Her gaze shifted through the glass wall to her assistant, Olivia Morgan, who was giggling softly, her eyes glued to the expensive new smartphone she'd recently acquired. Olivia had become noticeably distracted lately, her lunchtime absences prolonged, phone calls hushed and frequent. At first, Emily had dismissed it as innocent excitement over a new romance or social circle, but seeing Olivia's freshly acquired luxury handbag and the sparkling diamond earrings she wore today, suspicion clawed at her thoughts. Emily recognized that particular diamond design. It closely mirrored the earrings Marcus had bought her on their first anniversary. The connection was impossible to ignore, a nagging puzzle piece slotting neatly into place and making her stomach tighten uneasily. A subtle ping from Emily's laptop momentarily pulled her back to reality, the notification alerting her to another confidential email from the acquisition team. The biotech startup she'd nurtured carefully was close to finalizing a significant deal worth £800,000 sterling, an impressive valuation. For a firm specializing in genetics and health innovations, Emily had purposely kept this acquisition quiet, knowing from experience that discreet achievements often spoke louder than open boasting, especially in London's elite entrepreneurial circles. Marcus, obsessed with quick financial gains from luxury real estate schemes, had never taken her little science projects seriously. Indeed, he openly mocked her dedication to ethical innovation, dismissing it as naive idealism or financial incompetence. Emily's thoughts were abruptly interrupted by Olivia knocking lightly on her open door, a subtle smirk barely concealed. "Marcus phoned earlier," Olivia reported smoothly, her eyes betraying mild amusement. "He says he'll send someone around this weekend to collect his belongings." Emily nodded calmly, her expression neutral despite the turmoil beneath the surface. Olivia turned to leave, the sparkle of her new jewelry catching the sunlight streaming through the office windows, a mocking reminder of Marcus's betrayal. Emily Harper sat back slowly in her chair, her resolve firming. Marcus underestimated her profoundly, as did Olivia. If they wished to dismiss her as financially useless, then let them, because Emily knew true power wasn't measured by grand displays of wealth or empty promises, but by quiet strength and careful planning. And right now, quietly planning was exactly what she intended to do. Over the next few weeks, Emily's suspicions intensified, the tension quietly simmering beneath the polite surface of her London biotechnology office. Each day brought subtle yet undeniable clues about Olivia Morgan, her previously dependable personal assistant, and Marcus Bennett, the husband who'd hastily declared her financially incompetent. Emily observed Olivia's behavior carefully, noting how she frequently excused herself from office duties for unusually long lunch breaks. Once meticulously professional, Olivia had grown distracted and evasive, often returning with flushed cheeks, eyes twinkling mischievously as she avoided questions about her whereabouts. Her attire was another striking revelation. Gone were the practical business suits, replaced by glamorous designer dresses, silk scarves, and shoes from exclusive boutiques in Mayfair. Olivia's new extravagant tastes stood sharply at odds with her modest assistant salary, a discrepancy Emily couldn't ignore. One afternoon, Emily overheard a hushed yet excited conversation between Olivia and an unknown caller through the half-open office door. Olivia was speaking quietly, yet Emily caught unmistakable phrases: exclusive investment, luxury art opportunity, and, most troublingly, Marcus's name. Emily froze momentarily, her heart dropping. Marcus had always been intrigued by London's elite art circles, particularly captivated by the idea of using art investments as shortcuts to wealth and social prestige. Olivia's furtive whisper of Marcus's involvement confirmed Emily's worst suspicions. Her assistant and husband were entangled not merely romantically, but financially. The realization felt like ice spreading through Emily's chest, a cold certainty settling deeply within her. Determined to understand the full extent of the betrayal, Emily began quietly monitoring Olivia's activities more systematically, noting subtle changes in her assistant's behavior patterns. Soon enough, the final pieces fell painfully into place. Tyler Reed, a loyal accountant at the biotech startup, approached Emily discreetly one evening, clearly uneasy. He revealed that Marcus had recently leveraged a significant portion of his luxury property holdings, liquidating assets rapidly. Marcus, according to Tyler's contacts, had done so based on a supposed groundbreaking investment, one that promised phenomenal returns from a secretive art investment fund, purportedly backed by advanced AI-driven analytics from a prestigious biotech connection. Tyler shook his head in disbelief, uncomfortable even as he reported the facts to Emily, clearly sensing the gravity of his words. Emily listened silently, her calm facade masking the wave of anger and disappointment surging inside. The audacity of their scheme stunned her. Marcus, dismissive of her work, and Olivia, trusted assistant turned conspirator, had shamelessly used Emily's own biotech reputation to lend credibility to their fraudulent investment plans. Olivia must have falsely implied she had insider knowledge from Emily's advanced biotech algorithms to attract wealthy investors. It was clear now. Marcus and Olivia, blinded by greed and arrogance, believed they could exploit Emily's quiet dedication and genuine success for their quick financial gain. As Tyler left the office, Emily sat alone, the twilight skyline of London glittering beyond her windows. Her trust had been violated both personally and professionally, yet the knowledge brought her a strange sense of empowerment. Marcus and Olivia believed her naive and financially useless, but they had drastically underestimated Emily Harper's intelligence, resilience, and determination. With this revelation, Emily was resolved. She would quietly, strategically prepare her response, calculated, measured, and absolute. Emily Harper sat in the sleek, glass-walled office of Quinn & Associates, a top-tier corporate law firm nestled in the heart of London's financial district. The air smelled of polished wood and fresh espresso, the quiet hum of serious business filling the space. Across from her, Barbara Quinn, her sharp-witted corporate attorney, adjusted her reading glasses and tapped a neatly organized stack of documents. "Once you sign this, the acquisition will be locked in," Barbara said, sliding a final contract across the desk. Emily took a slow breath, glancing at the bold black ink. £800,000 sterling. The sale of her biotech company, finalized. It should have felt surreal, but instead it felt like perfect timing. For months, Emily had meticulously orchestrated this acquisition, ensuring absolute confidentiality. Not even her employees knew. Only Barbara and the acquisition team had been involved in the negotiations. Keeping it quiet had been a deliberate choice. If Marcus got even a whisper of the deal before the divorce was settled, he would undoubtedly attempt to stake a claim. using their marriage to argue for a share of her hard-earned success. But Marcus, so quick to dismiss Emily's intelligence, hadn't even bothered to look into her company's financials. To him, she was just playing scientist, tinkering with meaningless projects. Let him believe that. Let him think he was walking away the victor. With steady hands, Emily signed the final document, securing both her company's future and her own financial independence. Barbara nodded approvingly. By choosing not to contest the divorce or disclose the acquisition, Marcus will have no legal claim to your assets. His loss. Emily allowed herself the smallest smirk. His loss indeed. As Barbara reviewed the final paperwork, Emily's mind drifted to her next move. Olivia had grown increasingly careless, undoubtedly confident in whatever she and Marcus were plotting. By now, she was certain they believed Emily to be an easy target, clueless about their little scheme. But they weren't just deceiving Emily, they were deceiving investors, luring them into a fraudulent luxury art investment fund backed by AI technology that didn't exist. Emily knew exactly how these things played out. Bold promises, fabricated success stories, fake exclusivity, and then, inevitably, collapse. What they hadn't accounted for was Emily's foresight. Tomorrow morning, before Olivia even realized what was happening, all of her system access would be revoked. Her company email, confidential files, even her office key card. Everything would be cut off. Standard security protocol for an employee preparing to leave, except Olivia had no idea her departure was already anticipated, and just in case she had attempted to extract sensitive information, Emily had already redirected Olivia's internal account access to a monitored system, tracking every login attempt. Signing the last document, Emily met Barbara's gaze. Make sure the acquisition team maintains complete discretion. No public announcements until after the divorce is finalized. Barbara smirked. Already taken care of. Emily leaned back, exhaling slowly. Marcus and Olivia thought they were playing her, but in reality, they were walking straight into their own downfall. And Emily didn't have to lift a finger to make it happen. The next morning, Emily Harper arrived at her biotech firm earlier than usual, a quiet determination hardening her features. She had barely settled into her office chair when an email from Tyler Reed, her sharp-named accountant, popped up in her inbox. Confirmed, Marcus liquidated multiple assets. High-value transactions traced to offshore accounts. Funds allegedly linked to exclusive AI-jacked art investments. Olivia's name keeps appearing in conversations. Emily's jaw tightened. It was worse than she had imagined. Marcus and Olivia had woven an elaborate deception, leveraging her biotech company's reputation to attract wealthy investors, promising them astronomical returns based on cutting-edge AI technology. The irony was almost amusing. Marcus had spent years dismissing her work, yet now he was using the mere illusion of her expertise to sell a fraudulent scheme. A sharp knock at her office door pulled Emily from her thoughts. Olivia entered, her usual polished confidence on full display, strutting in her latest designer heels. A new acquisition, no doubt, funded by someone else's gullibility. "Morning, Emily," she chirped, far too chipper for a woman who was about to lose everything. "Just a heads up, I'll be stepping out early today. Let's call it an exciting opportunity," she smirked, adjusting the expensive diamond bracelet on her wrist. The nerve. Emily forced a neutral expression. "Of course. I was actually about to reach out to you." She turned her laptop toward Olivia, pulling up a screen with a simple but decisive message: access revoked. Olivia's smirk faltered. "What is this?" Emily leaned back in her chair, tilting her head slightly. "Standard security protocol. Since you'll be pursuing other ventures, I assumed you wouldn't need access to confidential company information anymore." The air in the room shifted. Olivia's fingers twitched at her side, her eyes darting to the laptop screen as if trying to will it away. I didn't say I was leaving right away, she stammered, her carefully curated confidence unraveling. Emily allowed a small, knowing smile. You didn't have to. She let the words sink in, watching Olivia's discomfort grow. You see, Olivia, I make it a point to stay ahead of situations like these. That's why your access was redirected to a monitored account 3 weeks ago. Olivia's face drained of color. 3 weeks? She whispered. Emily nodded. I know everything, Olivia. The investment fund, the offshore accounts, the promises of AI-driven analytics you never had access to? Olivia swallowed hard, panic creeping into her expression. Emily leaned forward, voice calm but firm. I also know Marcus took out high-risk loans based on this scam. It won't be long before those investors start asking questions, and when they do, I have no doubt they'll be looking for you. For the first time, Olivia seemed truly afraid. She opened her mouth, then closed it again, struggling for words, but Emily had already turned back to her computer, dismissing her with a quiet, satisfied finality. I believe you have somewhere else to be. Olivia hesitated for a moment before swiftly leaving. As the door clicked shut, Emily exhaled slowly. The trap had been set. Now all she had to do was wait for Marcus and Olivia to walk straight into their own downfall. That evening, Emily Harper stood in the glass-walled conference room of her biotech firm, overlooking the London skyline as her team clinked champagne glasses in celebration. The acquisition deal had officially closed. £800,000 was now safely in her accounts, and every single employee except one would receive a generous retention bonus. Laughter and conversation filled the space, a stark contrast to the storm brewing outside these walls for Marcus and Olivia. As she watched her employees revel in their well-earned success, Emily felt something deeper than satisfaction: vindication. While Marcus and Olivia had spent months chasing their next big score, she had been quietly securing her future, building something real, something that actually mattered. Emily, a toast is in order, said Michael, her lead researcher, raising his glass. To the best boss in the business, and apparently the most brilliant negotiator we never even knew we had. The room erupted in cheers, and Emily chuckled, lifting her own glass. To all of us, she said simply, her voice steady. We built something worth celebrating. As she took a sip, her phone buzzed with an incoming message from Detective Parker. You might want to check the business news. It's starting. Emily excused herself and stepped into her office, pulling up the latest financial headlines. Luxury real estate mogul under investigation for multi-million-pound art investment fraud, the headline read, with Marcus's name plastered across the page. Below it, a photograph of an angry mob outside his London office, demanding their money back. Investors claim fraudulent promises of AI-powered market insights linked to biotech firm. Company denies involvement. Emily smirked. The first cracks were showing. Another message appeared, this time from Lisa, her former accounting assistant. Olivia just submitted a resignation. Effective immediately. I think she's running. Emily wasn't surprised. She had expected Olivia to bolt the moment things got messy. The real question was, where was she taking the money? Emily leaned back in her chair, watching the chaos unfold from the safety of her success. Marcus had gambled everything on a get-rich-quick scheme, blind to the reality that his own greed had been the real flaw in his plan. He had left Emily convinced she was financially useless, while he and Olivia built an empire of lies. And now, that empire was crumbling, and Emily didn't have to lift a finger to destroy it. Taking a deep breath, she turned away from the screen and rejoined the celebration. Whatever happened next, Marcus's inevitable arrest, Olivia's desperate escape, was no longer her problem. Her path was clear. While they scrambled to avoid the consequences of their greed, she had a company to integrate, a team to lead, and a future far brighter than anything Marcus had ever imagined. As she raised her glass one final time, Emily allowed herself a small smile. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's simply moving forward, while your enemies drown in the wreckage of their own mistakes. 2 months after the acquisition, Emily Harper sat in the VIP lounge of a prestigious tech conference in San Francisco, reviewing the latest integration updates for her biotech firm. The expansion was exceeding all expectations. Her AI-driven healthcare platform was now on the radar of major hospitals across Europe and Asia. But while Emily was focused on the future, Marcus and Olivia's world was quickly unraveling. Her phone buzzed with a message from Detective Parker. Marcus's firm just collapsed. Dozens of investors are filing lawsuits. You might want to see this. Emily clicked the link he provided, pulling up a live news broadcast. The scene outside Bennett Luxury Real Estate in London was utter chaos. Furious investors were gathered outside the building, waving signs demanding their money back. Some had poured their entire life savings into Marcus's exclusive AI-powered art investment fund, which was now exposed as a complete scam. Reports confirmed that millions had vanished, funneled into offshore accounts connected to Olivia. Marcus, in his desperation, was scrambling to explain himself to reporters, but the words came out as incoherent stammers. Emily smirked. She had seen this coming from miles away. Marcus had never been patient enough to build something real. He was always looking for shortcuts, always chasing the illusion of easy wealth. His downfall had been inevitable the moment he bet everything on a fabricated investment scheme, falsely claiming insider knowledge from a biotech firm that had already shut him out. Her laptop pinged with an urgent email from Lisa, her former accounting assistant. "You're not going to believe this. Olivia is gone. No trace. Word is, she cleaned out the last of Marcus's offshore accounts before disappearing." Emily felt a slow wave of amusement settle over her. So, Olivia had betrayed Marcus too. It was poetic. She had played him just as he had tried to play Emily. Emily turned her attention back to the news feed, where Marcus was now being pressed by reporters. "Mr. Bennett, is it true that your business partner, Olivia Morgan, has disappeared with the remaining investor funds?" one of them shouted. Marcus's face blanched, his usual arrogance replaced with sheer panic. His downfall was now public, irreversible, and he had nowhere to run. As much as the situation was undeniably satisfying, Emily knew better than to dwell on it. This was just another consequence of greed, another cautionary tale about the dangers of overestimating one's intelligence while underestimating others. She had work to do. Real, meaningful work that would improve lives, not destroy them. She closed her laptop and signaled for the next round of meetings to begin. While Marcus drowned in lawsuits and Olivia disappeared into the wind, Emily was exactly where she needed to be, at the top of her game, thriving, and focused on the future. 1 week later, Emily Harper was in the middle of a keynote presentation at the San Francisco Tech Conference when her phone vibrated with an urgent notification. Breaking news: former real estate mogul Marcus Bennett arrested for investment fraud. She didn't need to read further. She had anticipated this moment for months. She continued her speech, discussing the latest breakthroughs in AI-driven healthcare, her voice steady and focused, as if nothing had happened. But inside she knew this was the final nail in Marcus's coffin. His years of deception had finally caught up with him. Later that evening, Emily sat in her hotel suite, sipping a glass of wine as she scrolled through the damning headlines. Reports confirmed that Marcus had been detained at Heathrow Airport, attempting to board a last-minute flight to Dubai, a failed attempt to flee the inevitable. His assets were frozen, his investors were suing, and his reputation was in ruins. The authorities had tracked multiple offshore accounts linked to him and Olivia. Yet, Olivia herself had disappeared completely. There was no record of her boarding a flight, no recent financial activity, nothing. She had vanished with the last of the stolen millions, leaving Marcus to take the fall alone. Emily leaned back in her chair, exhaling slowly. It was poetic justice. Marcus had built his entire existence around wealth, status, and manipulation, never truly valuing what was real. Now, his own greed had destroyed him, not just professionally but personally. The woman he had trusted to help him outsmart his wife had outplayed him instead. A call from Detective Parker interrupted her thoughts. It's official. He's looking at a potential 12-year sentence if convicted on all charges. The investors are pressing for maximum punishment. Emily smirked. And Olivia? She asked, already knowing the answer. Parker sighed. Still missing, but with the amount of money she took, she won't stay hidden forever. Emily had no desire to chase Olivia down. She had already won, in ways far more meaningful than revenge. While Marcus sat in a holding cell, preparing for a trial that would drag his name through the mud, and Olivia lived on borrowed time, Emily was thriving. Her biotech firm had secured additional partnerships. Her AI-driven healthcare technology was already being implemented in hospitals, and her company's valuation was projected to triple within the next 2 years. She opened a final email from Barbara, her attorney. Divorce officially finalized. No further claims from Marcus. Congratulations, Emily. She smiled to herself. Marcus had left her, convinced she was financially useless. And now, she was wealthier, more successful, and more powerful than ever. Emily closed her laptop, finishing the last sip of her wine as she looked out over the San Francisco skyline. Marcus's story was ending. Hers was just beginning. 1 year later, Emily Harper sat in the front row of a packed auditorium at the University of Oxford, waiting for her turn to take the stage as the keynote speaker for the International Summit on AI in Healthcare. The past 12 months had been a whirlwind. Her biotech firm had not only survived the acquisition, but had thrived under her leadership, expanding its research into groundbreaking genetic therapy and AI-driven diagnostics. Hospitals across Europe were now using her company's technology to improve patient outcomes, a reality that mattered far more to her than personal revenge. She had built something real. As she waited, she glanced at the day's headlines on her phone. Former real estate mogul sentenced to 12 years in federal prison for fraud. The attached photo showed Marcus Bennett standing before a judge, looking hollow and defeated. His once flawless image had been permanently shattered, his wealth and social standing erased. The court had been unforgiving, with victims testifying how they had lost their life savings in his fraudulent investment scheme. The sentencing had been swift. Marcus had gambled everything on a get-rich-quick fantasy, and now he had nothing left. Emily scrolled further, stopping at another update. International authorities continue search for Olivia Morgan, alleged fraudster remains at large. She let out a quiet chuckle. Olivia had played her part well, using Marcus to execute the scam, then vanishing the moment things turned south. Some sources claimed she had been spotted in Monaco, others in Thailand, but no one really knew, and frankly, Olivia had escaped, for now, but she was a fugitive, constantly looking over her shoulder, living on borrowed time. The irony of it all wasn't lost on Emily. Marcus had left her, convinced she was financially useless, while blindly trusting Olivia, who had robbed him in the end. Now, Marcus sat in prison, and Olivia was a ghost, while Emily had built a company valued at over £100 million. Marcus had always sought shortcuts to wealth. Emily had taken the long road, and it had made all the difference. Her name was called, and she stepped onto the stage, the audience erupting into applause. This moment, standing before some of the brightest minds in the world, presenting research that would change lives, was the ultimate victory. She began her speech with a simple but powerful message. True success isn't measured in quick wins or easy money. It's built through integrity, vision, and hard work. The world is full of people chasing shortcuts, but real innovation is about creating something that lasts. As she spoke, She didn't spare a single thought for Marcus or Olivia. Their story was over. Hers was still being written. The story of Emily Harper, Marcus Bennett, and Olivia Morgan serves as a powerful reminder that true success is built on integrity, patience, and real value creation, while greed and deception inevitably lead to downfall. Marcus and Olivia pursued quick wealth through lies and manipulation, using Emily's biotech reputation to orchestrate a fraudulent investment scheme. However, their obsession with shortcuts blinded them to the reality that sustainable success requires genuine effort and expertise. Marcus dismissed Emily as financially useless, failing to see her quiet intelligence and long-term strategy. In contrast, Emily focused on building something real, securing her company's future while Marcus and Olivia's scam crumbled. Their greed led to their own destruction. Marcus ended up in prison, and Olivia became a fugitive, constantly on the run. Meanwhile, Emily thrived, proving that consistency and ethical work always outlast deception. The key lesson here? Patience and resilience matter far more than instant gratification. Those who build lasting success through integrity and vision will always come out ahead, while those who try to cheat their way to wealth eventually face the consequences of their actions. In the end, real success speaks for itself.